In this video, we're going to talk about the relationship between the direction of your velocity and your acceleration and how that relates to speeding up or slowing down. Now, there's a really big misconception that every time you have a positive acceleration, you speed up. Every time you have a negative acceleration, you slow down. But that is not correct. If we think about the way we use positive and negative in physics, especially with kinematics, positive and negative only tell you direction. They do not tell you if you are speeding up or slowing down. They only tell you the direction of your motion. So if you have a negative velocity, then you are moving in the negative direction. If your acceleration is positive, it's just saying that your acceleration essentially is acting in the positive direction. So let's use an example to see if we can find a quick little pattern between the signs of velocity and acceleration and what that has to do with slowing down or speeding up. So we have an example right here of a position versus time graph. We have a nice smooth curve, which means we're going to have some acceleration. So let's figure out if the slope of that line, which is velocity, is positive or negative. And let's talk about, is it speeding up or slowing down as we move forward? So if I use my tangent line method, and I draw a tangent line for maybe this point right here, maybe for this point right here, and this point right here. That gives me two really big insights. Number one, it tells me that my velocity is negative, so I must be moving in the negative direction, whether it's to the left, whether it's down, whatever you set your coordinate system to be. And I know that because my slopes are all going in the negative direction. So I know that my slope is negative, and it continues to be negative. Now, as far as speeding up or slowing down, let's think about that, because I noticed that my tangent lines are getting steeper and steeper and steeper, which means we must be speeding up, because the steeper your line on a position time graph, the faster your speed. So we are increasing our speed. So let's take that to velocity. So we know that we have a negative slope, we have a negative velocity. Because we're moving in the negative direction, I'm going to stay down below my x-axis, and it's telling me that I'm speeding up. Now this is kind of a weird idea. So if I look at my slope, I'm starting with a very small slope, so we'll say it's potentially 0, pretty darn slow. And because I get steeper and steeper and steeper every time, my velocity is getting bigger and bigger and bigger. Remember, that negative value doesn't mean smaller, like on a number line. It means that my velocity is getting bigger just in the negative direction. So if we kind of sketch that out. We get a graph that looks like this. And now if we look at our slope, that is a negative slope. So what I'm getting out of this is my velocity is negative because we looked at that from the slope of our position time graph. My acceleration is also negative, and I got that from my velocity versus time graph. And I can kind of sketch that right here. But we're speeding up. So notice how, even though I have a negative acceleration, that does not mean I'm slowing down. That just tells me that the direction of my acceleration is negative. So notice how velocity and acceleration are both going in the same direction, and it makes my object speed up. So the big point to think about is anytime your velocity and your acceleration are going in the same direction or have matching signs, that will produce an object that speeds up. If you have opposite signs, let's say that we had positive velocity and negative acceleration, it's almost like they're fighting to a certain extent. They're taking away from each other. So when your signs are opposites, you're going to have an object that slows down. So again, to kind of recap, think about positive and negative more as direction rather than speeding up and slowing down, and an object that speeds up will have signs of velocity and acceleration that are consistent, that are the same. An object that slows down will have signs of velocity and acceleration that are opposite each other.